This afternoon, authorities of the Swedro Business School hand over 2 students allegedly involved in the violent confrontation of a fellow student during an inter-school athletic competition. Minister of Transport says government does not need parliamentary ratification for the name change of the Kotoka International Airport, insisting it can be done through an executive order. A lot later, we'll take you to the Northeast Gonja District Assembly, where staff are compelled to work under trees due to a lack of office space. A pleasure that you could join us this afternoon. This is News Central. I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, this afternoon, 4 individuals, 2 doctors and 2 nurses, all at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, have, as at this morning, been interdicted in sweeping investigations seeking to unravel the circumstances under which a 29-year-old engineer, Charles Emisa, succumbed to injuries from a hit-and-run accident suffered some days ago after he was rejected by 3 hospitals over the lack of a bed. The news has seen widespread anger across different quarters, with government officials and medical staff alike decrying the country's health system and its many failings in protecting life. While the government task committee unravels the whys of the incident, the situational report from the National Ambulance Service revealed worrying details of emergency medical technicians negotiating with hospital staff to attend to the now deceased engineer. This afternoon, we have caught wind of how the events played out, and we're just going to walk you through that even as we continue in the conversations and ask the questions as to why a situation of no bed syndrome has continued to prevail for God knows how long as a republic and as a people. And this is what we know based on the SITREP, the situational report made available by the National Ambulance Service on the day of the incident, and how this individual, Charles Emisa, now deceased, was transported to 3 major hospitals and yet was refused treatment. And so these are the initial details as we know it. The victim in question, Charles Emisa, he was aged 29 years. He was an engineer at Promasidor Ghana Limited, what we know as Cowbell, and he was commuting from the office, right, towards home. It was riding a red motorbike and what have you. But this is what we know happened. At 10:32, and that's 22:32, the National Ambulance Service received a call notifying them of an accident at Kwame Nkrumah Circle, what we also know as Circle Dubai, of a hit-and-run situation, requesting their immediate attention. Now, between 10:32 and 10:35, the National Ambulance Service mobilized a team and arrived at the accident scene. 3-minute response time is what we understand, per the situational report from the ambulance service. All it took, 3 minutes, for them to arrive at the scene of the accident. What did they do? They did a number of things, which included checking his initial vitals at the scene of the accident, which included his blood pressure, his pulse, and what have you. What did they do when they got there, per what they understand? He was conscious. His bleeding was controlled with the gauze, and there was a cervical collar applied because he was bleeding from his neck region or his collarbone region based on what it is that we understand from this situational report. Oxygen therapy was initiated as well and was given to him, and he was log rolled onto a spine board. All of this at 10:36 p.m. 4 minutes had elapsed since they got wind of the accident and arrived and began to apply emergency care to the victim, Charles. Now, between that time, 10:36 and 10:43, 11 minutes, they made their way to the first stop, which was the police hospital here around Dankwa Circle, cantonment area. Dankwa Circle, let's just leave it at Dankwa Circle. And he was rejected there. The reason, there was no vacant bed available for him to receive admission, right? Now, the crew, interestingly, the crew offered to use the ambulance trolley because obviously in an ambulance, there's a trolley on which the patient is boarded onto for him to be attended to, yet the hospital staff at the time when the emergency team of the ambulance service arrived with the individual refused. Now, his vitals as well were not checked by the hospital staff, and they went into negotiations close to 10 minutes whilst this individual was on the ambulance trolley and was in need of emergency service. So from there, with the police hospital not accepting the victim, they had to make a next stop at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital and what we know as RICH. There too, he was rejected on the same basis that there was no vacant bed available. And at that time, we were at an arrival time of 10:58. How many minutes since? 26 minutes and counting. Identical outcome because no admission, no vitals were taken. They offered again that he be treated on the ambulance trolley, and yet no attention to detail in terms of his vitals being taken. And as at the time, the vitals which, according to the situational report we have, which was checked by the ambulance service, the emergency medical technicians who did that, is all that we know are his vitals as at the time, 10:58, 26 minutes after the ambulance service received the emergency response. Now, the emergency call. Then we go to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. It's a major referral hospital. Almost every now and then, emergencies are going to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. There too, he was rejected. The instruction from the staff on duty was that he be transported to the University of Ghana Medical Center, the UGMC, which was some miles away. The ambulance service staff said, transporting this victim to another hospital and transporting this victim or having had him being transported from one place to the other was one which was leaving him in a precarious state, and he needed emergency treatment. And at this point, he had been to 3 major facilities who had all refused care to him under 60 minutes. And what do we know? There was a standoff at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. 30 long minutes of staff of the ambulance service negotiating and asking that he be attended to whilst he was on the ambulance trolley. And so there was a standoff. And you can argue what really was happening. The ambulance crew were simply asking that, look, moving him to the UGMC was going to see to a dangerous situation for the patient. The hospital staff said they could not even take his vitals. And so the ambulance sat parked for 30 minutes while negotiations failed. At about midnight, he entered into a cardiac arrest of some sort. Charles died inside the ambulance. They tried CPR to resuscitate him, but unfortunately, it failed. CPR was initiated immediately. There was no sign of life. His pupils were dilated, and his skin got cold. And the only time a staff of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital attended to him was at 12:53. It was pretty much another day. One, Dr. Nkrumah attended to the patient for the first time, and the simple task he performed was to certify his death, and the instruction was to convey his body to the morgue. Subsequently, a missing persons notice was filed by the family, and we know the rest of the story. In fact, as of the time the family reported to the Nima police station, subsequently went to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the victim could not be ID'd, and he had to take an entire process for the victim to be ID'd. And so this is what we know. No bed at the police hospital, no bed at the Ridge Hospital, no bed at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. In all of these, no vitals taken, and the plea by the staff of the National Ambulance Service was not heeded too. We're going to go onto the phone lines right now and engage Sena Agboja, Dr. Sena Agboja. He is the Vice President for the Academic Affairs at the Academic City University, and just speak thoughts on him, from him, in relation to what it is that we've been finding out. And Doc, I appreciate you joining us this afternoon. And you've been working on this particular syndrome that we've had for a very long time in this country, the no-bed syndrome, particularly in tertiary hospitals in the Greater Accra region and its environs. From what we've seen, how dire is the situation?
So thank you very much for having me, and I am female. You kept saying he, but before I start, my heart goes out to the family of Charles. It is. I always say that no one has to go through this, and if you live in a country in which you can't trust and rely on the healthcare system, it is almost as though you're sitting on a time bomb, and really this could happen to any of us. A lot of times this issue comes up, and when there's an accident and the issue is reported, we talk about it. After we let it be, and so we tend to be very reactive. I am thankful that we have kept this conversation going, and we are trying to get to the bottom of it. So I did this research with 4 of my students and 1 of my colleagues, Christian, Jochibed, Elvira, and Samantha, and then with Prof. Asante Darko. It's important that I mention them. And we did this while I was with Ashesi University. I'm currently with Academic City University. So what we sought to explore, and one of the key things that stood out to us in our research, was the fact that when it comes to hospital beds alone, most of our tertiary hospitals are actually at 97% capacity, which basically means that for persons who need some help, who need some guidance, who are within the space, and we go to the hospital, chances are that there will not be a bed for us. Now, that notwithstanding, there are other issues also that we found within the hospital spaces around infrastructure, overcrowding, just equipment, personnel being available in the right numbers, around them being trained on some of the equipment that exists, communication across stakeholders who work in the space, and quite a number of financial constraints as well. So what we did was to describe this as a very complex systemic phenomenon that needs to be unpacked. Because once you zero out one stakeholder, that the healthcare workers perhaps were not empathetic enough, and for their job they need to be empathetic, so perhaps they were not empathetic enough. or you move on to some other stakeholder and try to, label them as the problem, it gets a bit challenging because we don't get to address the fundamental issues that we need to deal with in here. And so one of the key things that we recommended was that we look at a case where we have a whole, more or less like a stakeholder dialogue, a conversation across stakeholders that helps us to understand properly and unpack the situation properly, so that there is a national framework as to how we are addressing this issue. We are not waiting to be reactive. That was one of the key things. Another, which is a very low-hanging fruit that I think even students at Academic City University can pick up, is putting together a very simple referral system that when the emergency services pick someone up, they can query it to know where in the country, depending on where they are, that they can locate a bed and personnel available to take care of the person. It cuts down, because healthcare is time-bound, and in an emergency situation, every second is important. So if there's a system that can be queried by emergency workers and they know that, okay, there is space, maybe not at a tertiary hospital, but maybe at a secondary level hospital, or even at a primary level hospital, but they have what it takes to provide the first aid that is needed, that would help us prevent a lot of these deaths, right? Charles, we've heard. How many haven't we heard about? So it's not a single case, but it's endemic, and we need to be able to deploy technology in ways that helps us to get to the bottom of some of these issues.
Right.
So a very simple referral system that helps us. Another major one is trauma centers across the country with persons who are trained in managing traumas. Otherwise, then, we are putting too much pressure on the tertiary institutions and expecting them to be able to take care of any issue that we throw to them. But any system overwhelmed will become inefficient. Any person overwhelmed will seem like they don't know what to do and they are not interested in their work. And so the onus is on us as stakeholders to decongest this problem a little bit so that different hospitals can take up these responsibilities. In emergency situations, we can even leverage private hospitals that we have, right, in the country. And we have quite a number of these private hospitals that have what it takes to address some of these issues. So fundamentally, we need to look at this holistically, unpack it properly, and try to deploy very low-hanging fruit solutions that can help us to curb these while we look for more complex ways of addressing some of these. Because I'm sure between Circle to Police Hospital to through that journey, there were a number of hospitals along that journey that could have saved Charles, but we missed it.
It's important to mention the use of technology and in being able to have a simple referral system and what have you. But we're minded as well to know that this is not the first time a conversation like that has sprung up on all of us as a people. We're seeking to have another committee look into this, solutions, profit, and what have you. At the heart of it as well, there's been the mention of emergency care and going through the sit-rep of the ambulance service. Can we have a system? Because now we know that the Ghana Health Service Director has ordered that emergency service be offered to persons, no matter the condition in which they come and what have you. But can we have an additional system that ensures that when, as we speak, we don't have this emergency referral system and a person is brought in, some attention is given to the person even when there are no beds?
Yeah. So yes, and you hit it right. I mean, I've been at Kolebu and seen people being attended to in wheelchairs in the emergency ward. I've seen people being attended to on beds that they borrowed from ambulances. This happened to my own mother. A bed that we borrowed from an ambulance was what we took to the emergency ward. We didn't even get space in the ward. We were in the corridors until at a point we were moved into a ward, and it was Luckily, I had a friend who was running a hospital, and so they allowed us to take the bed on the. It doesn't need to get to that, right? And that's why I get to the systemic processes. Now, if there's a protocol for this, and I'm certain, is one of the things that we do very well as a people, as a country, is having very good protocols, having very good policies and systems, etc. When it comes to implementation, it's not just in health, and it's not just at the national level. It filters down. We when it gets to implementation, we leave a lot of room for improvement. We need to curb that, right? In a space as delicate as healthcare, we need to curb that. I am certain if we go into the books of the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Services, all of the organizations that matter, you find all of these. We need to consolidate, right? Which is what I spoke about first, that we need a consolidated framework that is very simple for everyone to follow, that citizens like me and you are educated on, so that when we find a situation like that, or when we come into a situation like that, at least we know the first few steps to take to inform someone, to call someone, to ensure they get the right attention that they need, right? So what are these? And these are the things I'm calling the low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
The consolidated framework, the citizenry education,
Doc,
the referral system, those very basic things, right?
Doc, I just want a last attempt at timelines with the low-hanging fruit you've referenced a number of times. This referral system, if we are to onboard all of our hospitals, starting perhaps in the capital, onto a system where we can tell where beds are available at, how long should it take us to be able to do this?
Considering the fact that I'm not an IT expert, but if we are serious about this and deploy the right resources to it, I don't think it will take up to 2 months to do this. That's if you are very serious, right? But then I'm not an IT expert, and I'm looking at a case where we are deploying resources that includes people who are actually doing the mapping of these hospitals. I actually worked on a project with the French Embassy and Alliance Francaise, where we attempted to map, to identify these hospitals and put them on a map. Again with Professor Antida, who is currently with Ashesi University. So it took us just like 3 months to map this, and we didn't have a lot of resources.
Right. So you believe that can be done if there is enough resource? Absolutely.
Yes, we can be able to put something together.
Doc, I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. Hopefully it's not the last. We're having a conversation like this. But we can switch lanes right now and talk education and student hooliganism, because a victim of the brawl between Obrechtri SHS and the Agona Swedro School of Business, Akpakpa Collins Fiajigbe, is asking government to take interest in his assault and ensure he gets justice. In an exclusive interview with my colleague Christabel Success Treve, he explained the attack began over a dispute over seating arrangements, which subsequently escalated.
You are the victim. What exactly caused this, first of all?
The two thrown at me when I was looking for a place to sit, so that I'll use the medicine on my eye. That's what happened.
So you were basically just looking for a place to sit?
Yes, it happened unexpectedly.
Okay. So, but tell us, you're saying you didn't do anything to provoke?
No, I didn't do anything. I was just standing there. And they started throwing the stone.
What happened when they started throwing the stones?
I wasn't looking. When I turned, I saw my colleagues running, but I didn't know what was happening. So by the time I realized, the stone came to hit me.
So you're saying you didn't do anything to these particular students?
No, I didn't do anything to them.
What would you want to be done in this particular situation?
I want them to be arrested and anything that the government wants to do to them.
What's your full name?
My name is Akwaka Fiajigbe.
That's Collins Fiajigbe. Meanwhile, authorities of the Swero School of Business have handed over 2 suspects in the inter-schools competition violence to the Aguna Swero Divisional Police CID. This was done less than 24 hours after a meeting between the Director General of the Police CID, COP Lydia Yako Donko, and management of the Swero School of Business in Accra. In a Facebook post confirming the arrest, the CID boss indicated that about 9 p.m. on Monday, authorities of the school, led by the headmaster in charge of domestic affairs, handed over the students, Benedict Apia, 18, Bilal Mumid, 18, to the police. She concludes by instructing all other individuals connected to the assaults to voluntarily report to assist in investigations, or they'll be tracked and arrested. The PRO of the Ghana Education Service, Daniel Fenyi, spoke to TV3's Christabel Success Treve as well about the arrest after a meeting between the Director General of the GES, the Central Regional Director of the Ghana Education Service, and heads of the 2 schools.
They are arrested, currently in police custody. 4 students of our Bratcher Senior High Technical are in police custody as we talk. And the laws of the country will take its full course. So they will be processed for court. And then we await, of course, we won't preempt the outcome. But we know they are in police custody, they are processed for court, and we await the court's judgments here.
Are their names known?
For now, we will keep but yes, their identities, their names are fully known, but we will keep their identities here. We have put the sport on hold so that we go deeper into some of the causes of these assault and violent cases. And so we already have, but we have observed that there could be some lapses for which the student explored those lapses. So we are going to look at how to strengthen our costs to ensure that the students are safe, the teachers are safe, and they will go about their duties. So at the moment, the Central Regional Directorate, the school leadership, the district leadership have been directed to go and bring out their plan on how they would ensure the students are very safe and sound when we reopen.
You're still with us here on News Central. We're taking you away from education to matters in relation to education, to the environment and Galamsey fight. Because after over a year of research and trials, the Environmental Protection Authority, EPA, has selected the Birim River as a pilot site for dechemicalization process using iconic nanocopper technology from Malaysia. In partnership with the Ghana Water Company, the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, and the Ghana Standards Authority, authorities say this could mark a turning point in restoring polluted waters. My colleague Nura Mohammed is currently with the team in the Eastern region and is joining us right now with details as to this testing phase, really, that we're in. Nura, what can you report?
Yes, Mawena, so we're currently here in the Eastern region and we are at the Birim River, and the Environmental Protection Agency saw the need to help purify our water bodies which have been destroyed as a result of illegal mining, or what is otherwise known as Galamsey, to rid the water bodies of impurities, debris, chemicals, heavy metals, and what have you. And so we are joined by the CEO herself, Professor Nanama. Hello, CEO. So she will be taking us through the entire dechemicalization process and what it entails, as well as, a top to bottom, analysis of what they actually came here to do. Hello, Prof.
Hello, thank you for having us from the Environmental Protection Authority. As per our mandate to protect the environment, water is part of it. So we have spent close to a year in understanding how to go through the process of cleaning our water bodies. We have come up with a technology that is called the ionic nanocopper that will help us clean our water bodies in a very short time. So whilst we speak, we have tested this technology, we've done the laboratory, we've done the field trials, and today is the day we decided to do the pilot. So we've called all stakeholders, the community, elders, and people to witness the application and the cleaning of the water body. So as we speak, we are still at the Brim Riverside, and this is what we came to meet, is the color of the Brim River, the level of pollution of Brim River. After 30 minutes of application, we tried, we fetched, and this is the color we've seen. After 1 hour of application, this is the color of the water we have seen. One would think that yes, it is clean. Definitely it is clean. It is clean from the turbidity point of view. It is clear. But also we know that this is also heavily polluted with heavy metals in there. So we use the ionic copper nano to clean also the heavy metals in the water. What it does is to separate water from every other substance, which includes any other minerals. So it brings even the good minerals we need to drink water with to the barest minimum. So from this stage, you can use the water to do every other thing. But to drink, you can drink, it's safe to drink, except that we don't call it potable. The standards of the minerals like manganese, like iron, like zinc in there is at a minimal level. We need that to come up a little bit for a good circulation of our blood in the system. So we entreat the Ghana Water Company to, from this stage, treat the water to a potable stage for drinking.
Right, Prof. And we saw the entire process, right? And like you said, this is the pilot. So is there any intent to replicate this?
Well, my colleague Noura Mohammed asking some bit more in terms of questions, because the conversation about water and the quality from our rivers which have been polluted as a result of activities of galamsey is very much evident for all to see. The big question, which Prof has been explaining, is that this copper technology, nano copper technology, seeking to remove heavy metals as well from the water. A question being asked by Noura as to where this moves from the pilot phase, and then also questions will be asked as to whether or not this has been tested again for verification as to if the heavy metals have reduced and all of that. But these questions and more, I'm sure, we'll get answers to for you if you stay with us here on News Central. But we're going for our very first break on the bulletin. When we return, we have a bit more for you, including news conference by the Transport Minister defending the decision to immediately change the name of Ghana's official gateway into the country from the Kotoka International Airport to the Accra International Airport. Stay with us. We have details when we return. Conversation about the name change of the country's biggest international airport. That's because the Transport Minister, Joseph Boakai Nikpe, has justified the government's decision to reverse the name of Ghana's international airport to the Accra International Airport, stating there was no basis for a new legislation or bill to be laid before Parliament. He explains that the 1969 National Liberation Council decree that established a trust for Lieutenant General Kotoka, through which the airport was named after him, did not have a legislative instrument to operationalize that decision. The Honorable Nikpe says an executive order is enough to take such decisions, citing other airports that were named without any parliamentary action. Christian Yale is my colleague, is a parliamentary affairs correspondent as well. He's been getting all of the details from the minister. He's joined us right now with that. Chris, you studied this 1969 decree and followed the conversation. What can you report based on what the minister is telling us right now?
Eric, so for many, the first thing they have been saying was that the minister and by extension, the government ought to have brought a bill before Parliament to repeal that 1969 National Liberation Congress decree, which set up the Kotoka Trust Fund. Now, as part of that fund, when you look at it, which I've studied carefully, you realize that the object or the purpose of that fund was to first rename the Accra International Airport Kotoka International Airport to honor Lieutenant General Emmanuel Kwasi Kotoka. Also because when you look at the object of that decree again, it talks about the fact that there should have been a statue around the Kotoka International Airport to be in the honor of Kotoka, also because he died around that area during the 17th April 1967 insurrection. And so for many, this even answers the question that the name Kotoka International Airport has nothing to do with his role played in the coup that ousted Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, but rather because he died during that 67 insurrection around that area. Now, that trust or that trust fund was basically to set up more or less like a trust to cater for the families of the soldiers who died during that era. And so the minister takes notice of that, and as it stands, the trust is still working, is still serving the purpose by taking care of the families that these soldiers, including Kotoka himself, left. But he maintains that there was no legislative instrument during the time in Parliament to give, operational effect to that decree, and so government does not need to bring any bill or any legislation before Parliament before it can change the name or revert the name to Accra International Airport. Let's listen to him exactly what he says concerning this legal matter.
You remember that it came as a result of the NLCD 309. It was a decree that was brought to set a trust to cater for the families of Kotoka and other soldiers who were killed along that time. And it happened that he was killed at the forecourt of the airport. And so if you look at the decree, its intention was to set a trust to take care of the families of the soldiers who were killed. And so if you look within it, they decided to honor him by introducing or renaming the airport after him. But the purpose of the decree was to establish a trust. Now, there was no any legislature in Parliament to operationalize it. And so there is no anything in it for Parliament to amend or Parliament to legislate. It was an executive order that was given to recognize somebody who was killed at the forecourt of the airport, and the rightful thing is for us to come to an executive announcement again that the name is reverted to its original name. Airports are named by the executive orders, all our airports. That is why when we changed the Yakubu Tali International to Tamale International, there was no any legislation. When we changed the Prempre Ejima, the Sega International, there's no any legislation. So Accra is not an exceptional airport. What it is for us is that it is the gateway to the country. It is our international airport. And we looked at the decree, and its main purpose was to set up a trust to take care of the families. And so we have gone the way to rename it to its original name. There's no any legislation in naming airports in Ghana.
Well, Christian, thank you. But we also know that the minister has been answering questions in relation to the cost this name change will come at. He says that will not be a matter of concern.
The good news for us is that all these organizations that control aviation, since the name change of Accra to Kotoka, have not changed the country code. Akawo still maintains the country code DGAA. Ayata and Akawo still maintain the country code ACC. So there's nothing to change at the international level. The only thing to change is the signages and the billboards that we have. But Kotoka, as a company, they already have the vendors who produce their letterheads on daily basis for them. So it's not a new contract. It's just a matter of Kotoka is now out. The same vendors who were doing their letterheads, their stamps, are the same companies to continue to now change. Just removal of Kotoka and it will be Accra. So what will be the cost there? We are already renovating the airport. We are already doing construction of the airport to make it function properly. And some of those things would have been destroyed and rebranded. It's just a matter of the Kotoka out and the Accra in. So
now, the Supreme Court has granted the Attorney General an extension of time to file its response in a constitutional case filed by private citizen and lawyer Noah Adamti challenging an aspect of the Office of the Special Prosecutor law. The decision follows argument in court today over delays in the state's response. State attorneys told the court they filed a motion for extension of time on the 23rd of February. The plaintiff confirmed receiving the application this morning and indicated he had no objection to the request, but raised concern over repeated delays by the Attorney General's office. The defendant was absent during proceedings. The court subsequently granted the application and gave the state 7 days within which to file its response. The court indicated that once the filing is done, the matter may proceed and parties may file additional responses if they so wish. The substantive case challenges the legality of powers granted under the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act. In an earlier ruling, the Supreme Court dismissed an attempt by the Office of the Special Prosecutor to be a joint party in the case, holding that the Attorney General alone can defend the constitutionality of the matter. Let's take you across the regions right now. Now, imagine waking up early in the morning and rushing to work just to go and sit under a tree to work for 8 hours due to the lack of office space. Even so, you'll be lucky to get a plastic chair to sit on because there isn't enough chairs for all the staff to sit and work under the tree. Well, that's the reality of the staff of the Northeast Gonja District Assembly who practice a first-come, first-served schedule at work. The Northeast Gonja District, which was established in 2019, operates from a structure constructed to serve as a town council with 4 office spaces, which only accommodates the DCE, the District Coordinating Director for Finance and Planning, and then the Planning Officer. The other staff have been compelled to sit or stand under a tree for the period at work. An office complex started in 2020 is yet to be completed. And let's take you right now to the East Gonja District, where my colleague Christopher Mwako is, to get an understanding as to how the staff come to work, and even if there is morale to even come to work at all, to come to work and come and stand and work. Chris, talk to us. How are they coping, and do they even get work done to start off with?
Yeah, so Marina, is very terrible. It's an eyesore because you go to the northeast Gonja district, and all you see is that the assembly staff sit under a small mango tree, and that is where they operate from. Those who use their laptops, immediately their batteries run down. They have to go plug their laptops before later they can go and pick it to come and continue with their work. They don't have furniture to sit on. Even the plastic chairs available are not enough for them to be able to sit. This, according to them, is affecting productivity because some of them, when they even go, when it's 12 o'clock, they have to start leaving because the sun will be scorchy by then, and sitting under the tree will be very difficult. Let's take a listen to what some of them have actually been telling us.
Sitting under the tree, some of the offices that we have, they are offices mainly for the district chief executive, the district coordinating director, and the finance office. All the other offices available are not scheduled specific for officers. So whoever comes early, you grab a seat and then you sit. Even plastic chairs for us to sit under the tree are not enough. Staff come to the office, some stand throughout before they return to their various homes, which is not very good. Even in your homes, you still find seats to sit. But coming to the office to work for the people, you are not comfortable. Sitting under the tree to do your daily routine is challenging for us. This brings to low productivity in the districts, and then you have to be assessed with other districts, which doesn't augur well. The government employs you to be here to work together with other districts, but the co-working conditions are not very, very good for us.
And Chris, what has the DC been saying? Seeing the staff are supposed to be working with standing and seated under trees?
Yes, so the DC has also admitted that it's been a challenging situation for them because right now, even what his staff practice is that they run shifts. Some can come 2 days, then the next 2 days they will not come, others will come, so that when they come under the tree, because of the numbers of staff that they have, they will not be comfortable all sitting under the tree. So they have to resort to running shifts so that they can be able to do something at least for the assembly. And that explains why it's one of the poorest assemblies in the country. Let's take a listen to what the district chief executive has been saying and the assurances he's been given.
For now, my officers operate under the tree. Most of them, when they come, they don't have spaces to sit in the offices. They languish around the trees, the mango tree we can see here around us. And because of that, some of them don't even come. I understand I have made frantic efforts to keep all officers in the office, but it is virtually impossible because they don't have a space for themselves, and that is what is hindering our work. As a result of this lack of office accommodation, some of my officers have resorted to shift the system. These people will come on Monday, Tuesday, others will come Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes Friday becomes a holiday for them. I have been quarreling with them, and they are responding. I believe it's because of the lack of office space. That is what is creating all these things. But gradually, as we move along, the government of the day would not put the blame to anybody. It was only this last year, late last year, 2025, that we had an indication that we should use our legacy fund to see how to complete the office space for ourselves. And so we are putting in our resources.
Chris, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll come to you again for a bit more details in relation to this particular story. But away from that, a committee set up for the elevation of districts and municipalities has recommended the elevation of 33 local assemblies as part of the government's ongoing commitment to strengthen governance at the local level. At a brief ceremony, Johnson Isidun Ketia, chairman of the committee, handed over the report to Ahmed Ibrahim, the Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. The Minister, the Honorable Ibrahim, expressed his appreciation and recognizing the report not just as a technical document, but as a strategic roadmap for Ghana's future local governance.
Because it is a report that we are presenting, which would be reviewed and approved, I don't think it is fitting and proper for us to go into the details of what we have recommended. Suffice it to say that the committee found it necessary to recommend for upgrading 12 existing municipalities into metropolises.
Now, residents of Sokoban Wood Village in Kumasi have staged a protest over the deplorable condition of their road, describing it as a growing health and security threat to the community. According to the aggrieved residents, the road has been left untarred and poorly maintained for years, resulting in excessive dust pollution, especially during the dry season. They say the situation has led to a rise in respiratory illnesses, including asthma, particularly among children and the elderly. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is joining me with a bit more in terms of the details. Ibrahim, how bad is it? Talk to us.
Mauna, this was a project that was awarded to contract 6 years ago. In fact, the gutters have been constructed, the filling were done. It was only left for the tarring of the road, and the contractor left side. He was complaining about some financial constraint. Government had not paid him. And over the years, the road is moving from bad to worse. In rainy season, it becomes even terrible to be able to ply that stretch. And dry season too, the dust is so serious that when you even ply that route, you can't even wear a white attire to be able to move that. And this has affected businesses along that stretch. Most businesses are folded up. The houses that are around too, they have been complaining. So the impact on the road is quite significant to both commercial drivers who always complain about breakdown of their vehicle. Then we have residents who, like you rightly mentioned, have been complaining about respiratory infection. Then we have also commuters who also say drivers who come there charge them exorbitant prices.
And let's listen first off to the commuters, and then we can talk about the impact on the business.
Can you imagine the dust we are inhaling? And can you imagine the illness we are accumulating over the years? 6 years. Pressure crying to me. Then this road is also going to add on to our problems. Please, they should come to our aid and help us. We are part of Ghana. We pay taxes. In fact, when your pay slip come and look at how much you are paying, you marvel at what you are contributing to Ghana, yet you are not benefiting.
Kwanya road minister abaso de ne edim so enu bosomi ana afekura ye beye ne eguso yes Ghana bai akwambo ne haye akromfo so di enya ebio ensuo to a ayasem o pesu si a ayasem yesre o mapanyi mahama one ne road minister omucho mani emehwe ye.
Talk to us about business and its impact. Sokoban Wood Village, very known for wood and what have you. How is the bad nature of the road now affecting business as well?
Well, Mana, like I rightly mentioned, commercial drivers say the rough and dusty nature of the road is causing frequent vehicle breakdown, which means increasing maintenance costs. Then we have, on the part of traders and shop owners, who are also reporting a decline in customer traffic because they say many people avoid the area due to the dust and poor accessibility of the area. Then we have also the residents themselves, they are complaining about respiratory infection. So the nature of the road, I would say, has slowed down business activities and have even prevented somehow the community from developing because this is just some few minutes drive to Kumasi, but you go there and the place looks like a typical village.
Ibrahim, we have to run, but what are the responses from relevant authorities as to the progress of the road and whether or not contractors are going to return?
Well, they are still giving residents assurance. They said it all boils down to finances, and they are also making frantic efforts to engage the Ministry of Roads and Highways so that they see the contractors back to site to be able to complete what they've started.
Ibrahim, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar. He will bring us to the end of this afternoon's edition of the Bulletin. We're back again tomorrow, God willing, with another exciting edition of News Central. I am Mawina Igbeta. Many thanks for watching.